Talking
Let
about
me,
why we do what we've always done. Jimmy, let's talk about going to school, paying the money, investing in the degree of being a physical therapist.
so this was a poll that I put up on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'll share the results of one of them, but I wanted to understand because there's a lot of bitching and complaining around number one, like the move from a master's degree to a DPT, which is one thing, right? Somebody had a comment like, I'm so angry at the cost of my degree. So I'm like, are you angry at the cost of your degree, or are you angry with the return on investment? And here's the trap. Both of those things you're responsible for. Now, I know there's some convolution in terms of like, well, how much does a degree actually cost? But like, you signed, you're an adult, you owe that. I think degrees should cost less money. Let's be very, very clear. But I think that's a process, and I don't think that we can control that. So here was the poll that I put up. What frustrates you more? As professionals, we're all invested time and money into our education, but the question remains, which of those stings the most? I wanted to know emotionally what they thought stings the most. And I said, was it the price tag, the cost of your degree that puts a dent in your wallet every month? You got to pay that. Or the ROI, the value your degree returns in terms of what's brought into your career. And it's not just money there, right? And the results, I think I had about 200 responses on LinkedIn, a couple hundred on Twitter, a couple hundred on Facebook. And here it was 47% said the price tag, the cost of the degree, was the thing that stung the most. You're responsible for that. The return on investment was 40%, and then 13% with that cop-out answer of show results. This is on LinkedIn. The Twitter results were actually flip-flopped a little bit. It was the ROI. So people angry at what they can get out of it. Here's the trap. Number one, you're on the hook for it. You signed them a dotted line. That's your fault. Buyer beware. You signed for it. That was in your control. You're so mad at that thing in the past, the price tag. It's out of your control now, but you're responsible. Here's the thing. Everybody's saying 40% saying the ROI. That's the only damn thing you can control. So if you sign them a dotted line, sat on a conveyor belt and went through PT school and came out and had a bill and then sat on a different conveyor belt, which is a job at someone else's business, and you're upset with what's coming, that's your fault. The thing that you can do is, and we'll get into other options, you can get off that conveyor belt and do something different. You can leave the profession. A lot of people threaten to leave the profession every day, and we're seeing people do that. It kind of feels like every 4 years when people threaten to go move to Canada, if a certain political candidate that they don't like gets elected, there's the saber rattling. But I find this interesting because one of those things you currently have, I want to say complete control over, which is the ROI. So that was the thing. I'm like, okay, you can bitch, but what are we going to do about it? Did the results surprise you guys at all? Or, I mean, it was a trap answer. It was a trap question.
What do you think, Dave? I'm surprised by that, truthfully.
I'm not surprised. Obviously, Jimmy puts out the poll responses in a way that like those are typically the biggest areas that people will talk about or complain about or mention in terms of like any negative sentiment around their degree. But I love, like, we're all here with Jimmy, right? Like Jimmy is doing something right now, like just like working from home. You've worked for other companies. You're doing we talked about last episode 9, we don't have to rehash it, but like the last episode of like therapists trying to find non-clinical jobs, but being a PTOT SLP, Jimmy, arguably, I mean, I can't speak for him, but he's living, pretty well in terms of like doing the things people want to do, which is like work from home, like kind of make their own schedule, do, different tasks, whatever, like, different initiatives, different projects, whatever. And so Jimmy, you got a DPT, you did some rotations. I forget if you even had a first job or you did Fox Rehab. I can't remember if you treated 2 years.
I treated for 2.5 years.
Okay. That's long enough. You treated. So, and now you're doing this for like, you created it though. Right. So like, and I know I mentioned it before, but I like to also mention it. Like, it never gets talked about of the cost of being able to help your friends and family or yourself with the knowledge that we've got about differential diagnoses, mechanism of injury, healing, recovery time, sleep, nutrition, diet, exercise, mobility, whatever. I mean, I think over the course of your life, that $250,000 for that, I think it's worth it. But again, you know, they're the folks out there, the PTs in the Facebook groups are the judge and the jury at the same time.
But you can give people a toolbox and materials, and people will make a boat or excuses. You know, I mean, you could, you know, I mean, that's the thing. It really is what you do with it. So here's the funny part. The people who are doing the most with it, we don't see them bitching on Twitter. We don't see them complaining on Reddit. We don't see. So there is another side to it. So when I saw that post yesterday about the person essentially describing, I would like to do what I want, when I want, around complete flexibility. My question is, great. What value are you providing? Because if you're asking for $1, I need you to bring 2.5 worth of value, right? And that person was essentially saying, where are the, and I feel like clinicians just default to this utilization reviewer job, which isn't that the person we complain about all the time, right? The person that's denying care. So people are like, oh, these utilization reviewers denying care, these guys are idiots. Hey, are they hiring? Because I heard the job pays pretty well. It's like, hold on a second. That's like Luke deciding to be a stormtrooper for the benefits and the paycheck. It's like, what are you doing here?
Because they just want to work from home from a laptop and not go anywhere and not go travel to an office or travel to a patient's home and treat patients. That's what they want to do.
I will say the job that I created, I wound up working from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., but I still like it. And I still think I bring value because the people that I work for keep paying me. And if I didn't, I'd get fired. But you can take my story, which I do all the time, to PT schools, and I'm like, I'm not expecting any of you to run out and start a podcast or do anything that I do on the side, but what's your thing plus PT? You know, when I pitched myself to Fox Rehab, I emailed the CEO and I was like, I'm guessing you have a recruitment problem. What if we launched a podcast that educated, inspired, and informed geriatric PTs? And then the close of every episode was, by the way, we have practice in these, 30 something states. That was my pitch. And he was like, we do have a recruiting problem. Now, I could have tried to get a job in the recruiting department of Fox, but that's not what I wanted to do. I built a side avenue. So don't go do that. I mean, you can if you want, but what's your yes and is the real message. I think that is.
Yeah, it's internal versus external locus of control. External locus, I can't control the price. I'm going to get mad at the price. The prices, I'm genuinely shocked that therapists would be complaining about the price. The price does not matter. What matters is the return on the investment. And so, but return on investment is under my control. What do I do with that degree? What do I do with those 3 letters? So obviously it doesn't feel good to look at myself in the mirror and blame myself for the lack of return on investment.
Yeah, the whole thing, when you point at people, how many fingers are pointing back at you? It's like, there was somebody in a LinkedIn discussion, and I'll find it, because he wound up accusing me of being like unprofessional or whatever. But he was like, APTA was directly responsible for the cost of my degree. And I'm a word guy. I was like, directly responsible? They didn't set the price. Also, they didn't send him a dotted line and show up to PT school. The price didn't change. Right? There's rules around. You can't change the price in the middle of a degree, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you can't do that. Like, if you're in year 2, you can't say, hey, by the way, the price is going to go up. When you sat down day 1, year 1, you knew what the cost was going to be. You thought you knew what the value was. And then when you got out, but here's the thing, value is changeable.